Hi, everyone, and welcome to Learn and Chat. I'm Marcos, and today I'm here with Maria. And Maria, I think we have a fascinating story to explore today. Artificial intelligence. Today, AI can answer questions, create images, write stories, translate languages, help us study, and even have conversations with us. But how did all of this begin? Who first imagined that a machine could think? And how did we go from enormous computers many decades ago to tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and other AI systems that millions of people use today? We're going to travel through the history of artificial intelligence, understand the most important moments, and discover how the main AI systems are different today. Maria, are you ready to travel back to the beginning?
Absolutely, Marcos. And what I find surprising is that the story of artificial intelligence began long before ChatGPT, smartphones, or even the internet. For centuries, people imagined machines that could behave like humans. But the modern story really started when computers became a reality. In the 1940s and 1950s, scientists began asking an unusual question. Could a machine do more than calculate numbers? Could it actually think? One of the most important people asking this question was a British mathematician named Alan Turing. In 1950, Turing published an important paper about machine intelligence. Instead of only asking, can machines think, he proposed a practical idea. Could a machine have a conversation so convincing that a person might believe they were talking to another human? Marcos, that idea sounds surprisingly modern, doesn't it?
It really does, Maria. And Turing's idea became famous as the Turing test. The basic idea was simple. If a person could have a conversation with a machine and could not easily tell that it was a machine, maybe we could consider that machine intelligent. But something important happened a few years later. In 1956, a small group of scientists met at Dartmouth College in the United States. They believed computers could eventually learn, solve problems, and use language. And during this project, the term artificial intelligence became established. One of the organizers, John McCarthy, played a major role in giving the field its name. At that time, computers were enormous, expensive, and much less powerful than the phone in your pocket today. But the scientists were extremely optimistic. They believed intelligent machines could arrive surprisingly quickly. Maria, did their predictions actually come true?
The early scientists made impressive progress, but creating real intelligence was much harder than they expected. Early AI programs could solve simple problems, play basic games, and follow logical rules. For example, a computer could receive a set of instructions and use them to choose an answer. That looked intelligent, but there was a limitation. The machine usually worked only inside the specific situation it was designed for. It could not understand the world like a human. Computers were also expensive, slow, and had very limited memory. So during the 1960s and 70s, people started to realize that AI needed much more time and better technology. The excitement began to fall. Funding was reduced, and progress became slower. This difficult period became known as an AI winter. But Marcos, artificial intelligence did not disappear. So what brought it back?
Exactly, Maria. AI did not disappear. The ideas were still there, waiting for technology to improve. During the 1980s, a type of AI called expert systems became popular. These programs tried to copy the decision-making process of human experts. For example, a system could use many rules to help identify a medical problem or support a business decision. But there was still a major limitation. Humans had to give the computer most of those rules. Then, something began to change. Instead of programming every rule, researchers wanted computers to learn from data. This idea became increasingly important in machine learning. The computer could study many examples, find patterns, and use those patterns to make predictions. And as computers became faster and more data became available, AI started improving again. Maria, this new way of learning would eventually produce some incredible moments, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, Marcos. And one of those moments happened in 1997. A computer created by IBM called Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. That was a huge moment. For many people, chess represented human intelligence, strategy, and creativity. So watching a computer defeat one of the greatest players in the world was difficult to imagine. But Deep Blue was still very different from the AI we use today. It was extremely good at chess, but it could not suddenly start writing a story or having a normal conversation. Then, computers became faster. The internet created enormous amounts of data, and researchers improved something called neural networks, systems inspired in a very simple way by how our brains process information. These changes helped machines become much better at recognizing images, understanding speech, and learning complex patterns. And Marcos, another famous game would soon show just how far AI had come.
Right, Maria. And that moment came in 2016 with a game called Go. Go is an ancient board game with an enormous number of possible moves. For many years, experts believed it would be extremely difficult for a computer to defeat the best human players. Then, an AI system called AlphaGo, developed by Google DeepMind, played against world champion Lee Sedol. AlphaGo won 4 of the 5 games. And this was important for a different reason than Deep Blue. AlphaGo learned by studying games, recognizing patterns, and improving through practice. AI was becoming much better at learning, instead of simply following millions of human-written rules. But something even bigger was coming. AI would soon move beyond games and laboratories. It would begin to understand language, create images, write text, and become available to ordinary people. Maria, this is where we start getting much closer to the AI revolution we know today.
I agree, Marcos. And the next big change was generative AI. Instead of only recognizing information, AI systems became able to create new content. They could write text, generate images, create music, summarize documents, translate languages, and even write computer code. Then, in November 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT to the public. And suddenly, millions of ordinary people could have a conversation with an AI using simple, everyday language. You didn't need to be a scientist or a programmer. You could simply type a question. ChatGPT could explain a difficult idea, help write an email, create a story, or help someone practice English. And its popularity grew incredibly fast. But ChatGPT was only the beginning. Other technology companies were developing powerful AI assistants too. Soon, names like Gemini, Claude, Copilot, and Meta AI became part of the conversation. And Marcos, this is where things get really interesting, because these AI systems may look similar, but they are not exactly the same.
Exactly, Maria. And today, choosing an AI can feel a little like choosing a smartphone. Many of them can do similar things, but each one has different strengths. ChatGPT from OpenAI is designed as a general AI assistant. People use it for conversations, writing, learning, research, images, coding, and many everyday tasks. Gemini from Google is also a powerful general assistant. One of its advantages is its connection with Google's ecosystem and services. Then we have Claude, created by Anthropic. Claude is especially popular for working with long documents, writing, analysis, and complex information. And Microsoft Copilot brings AI into products such as Windows and Microsoft 365. But these are not the only important systems. Meta,
XAI, and several companies in China are also developing powerful models. And Maria, there is one important question. If all these systems can answer questions, what actually makes one AI different from another?
That's a good question, Marcos. The main difference is not simply whether an AI can answer a question. It is how well it performs different tasks, what tools it can use, and which services it connects with. One AI may be better for working with documents. Another may be more useful for creating images or videos. Some are strongly connected with email, office applications, search tools, or social networks. They can also have different personalities, writing styles, and ways of explaining information. And there is something important to remember. These systems continue to change very quickly. A feature that one AI has today may appear in several others only months later. So there may never be one AI that is simply the best at everything. The better question is often, which AI is best for what I need? But Marcos, there is something even more interesting. When an AI answers us so naturally, does it actually understand what it is saying?
That's one of the biggest questions, Maria. When an AI talks to us, it can sound surprisingly human. But that does not mean it thinks exactly like we do. Modern AI systems learn patterns from enormous amounts of information. When you ask a question, the system uses those patterns to produce a response. It can connect ideas, explain concepts, solve problems, and sometimes create very impressive answers. But AI can also make mistakes. Sometimes it can give information that sounds completely confident, but is actually incorrect. This is sometimes called an AI hallucination. That is why we should not automatically believe everything an AI tells us. For important information, we still need reliable sources and human judgment. So AI can be incredibly useful, but it is not perfect. And Maria, this leads to another question people are asking everywhere. If AI keeps improving this quickly, what will happen to our jobs?
Yes, Marcos. That question is creating both excitement and fear. AI can already perform tasks that once required a lot of human time. It can summarize reports, translate documents, analyze information, create images, write basic computer code, and help answer customer questions. So some jobs will certainly change. But that does not automatically mean that AI will simply replace everyone. In many cases, people may use AI as a tool to work faster and solve problems more efficiently. And new types of jobs may appear too, just as they did after the arrival of computers and the internet. The biggest challenge may be learning how to work with AI instead of competing against it. Human skills like judgment, creativity, communication, and responsibility will still be important. But Marcos, with AI becoming more powerful, there is another serious question. Who makes sure these systems are used responsibly?
Exactly, Maria. And this is becoming one of the most important debates about artificial intelligence. Governments, universities, and technology companies are discussing how AI should be controlled and used safely. There are questions about privacy, because AI systems can work with large amounts of information. There are also concerns about fake images, fake videos, scams, and misinformation. And as AI becomes more powerful, people want to know who is responsible when something goes wrong. Different countries are creating different rules, but regulation is difficult because AI technology can change faster than laws. At the same time, companies like OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, Microsoft, Meta, and XI are competing to build more capable systems. So we have two goals happening together. We want AI to keep improving, but we also want it to be safe and useful. And Maria, that brings us to where we are today, in 2026. How advanced has artificial intelligence actually become?
Very advanced, Marcos. And compared with only a few years ago, the change is remarkable. In 2026, leading AI systems can work with much more than text. They can understand images, analyze documents, work with audio, generate pictures and video, help with programming, and use tools to complete more complex tasks. We are also hearing more about AI agents. An AI agent does not only answer a question, it can sometimes complete several steps toward a goal, using different tools along the way. For example, instead of only suggesting a travel plan, an AI could help research options, organize information, and prepare the different parts of the trip. But even with these advances, AI still has limitations. It can misunderstand instructions, make mistakes, or need human supervision. So, Marcos, if AI has changed this much in only a few years, where could it take us next?
That is the big question, Maria. Nobody knows exactly where AI will take us next, but we can already see some possibilities. AI may become a more common assistant in our daily lives. It could help doctors study medical information, help scientists analyze large amounts of data, help teachers create personalized lessons, and help businesses automate repetitive tasks. We may also interact with AI in more natural ways. Instead of only typing, we can increasingly speak to it, show it what we see, and work with it using voice, images, and video. But I think the most interesting possibility is not simply creating machines that replace human abilities. It is creating tools that increase what humans can do. And you're right, Maria, progress has been incredibly fast. But before we imagine the future, there is one term we should discuss: AGI. What exactly do people mean when they talk about artificial general intelligence?
Yes, Marcos. AGI means artificial general intelligence. Today, AI can be extremely good at many tasks, but AGI describes something more ambitious. The idea is an artificial intelligence that could learn and perform a very wide range of intellectual tasks, more like a human can. For example, it could understand a new problem, learn how to solve it, and use that knowledge in completely different situations. But there is something important to remember. Experts still disagree about exactly what should count as AGI, how we would measure it, and when or even if we will achieve it. So when you hear predictions about AGI arriving very soon, remember that they are predictions, not facts. What we do know is that AI is developing very quickly. And Marcos, I think that brings us back to the most important question. What should ordinary people learn from this incredible story?
I think the biggest lesson is simple, Maria. Artificial intelligence did not appear overnight. It began with questions and ideas many decades ago. Then came early computers, the Turing test, the birth of AI, machine learning, Deep Blue, AlphaGo, and finally the powerful AI assistants we use today. And the story is still being written. AI can help us learn, create, communicate, and solve problems. But it can also make mistakes, and it brings important questions about privacy, jobs, safety, and responsibility. So perhaps the future is not simply about asking, what can AI do? We should also ask, how should we use AI? Because technology is a tool, and what we do with that tool will depend on us. Thanks for this fascinating conversation, Maria. And thank you for joining us. Keep listening, keep learning, and stay curious.